Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. This is Daily Trading Analysis with a quick market update for today, 15th of May, Wednesday, CPI day. Today, we got pretty decent readings on inflation. In terms of headline inflation, year over year, we got a downtick 3.4% coming from the 3.5, and as expected, this is a check mark in the good direction. Month over month, 0.3. Again, a little bit of a downtick from the 0.4 and lower than expected. This is also a check mark. And CPI for the core inflation year over year was even more, 0.2% lower than the 3.8 previous one. And as expected, another check mark. And month over month, 0.3, a little bit downtick from the 0.4%. And as expected, again, another check mark. So overall, all the four readings were a step in the good direction. Pretty decent readings. And also from the retail sales, we are seeing cool down of the retail sales. Consumer spending is cooling down. As you can see, excluding autos, month with month, 0.2 from the 0.9. Excluding gas and autos, minus 0.1 coming from the 0.7. And overall, year over year, we are right now at 3%. So pretty damn good readings on retail sales. Consumer spending is weakening and inflation is pushing towards the good direction. If we see the detail, we can see that all items month over month 0.3% and year over year the 3.4. And as always, we have to really check the services part of inflation. In terms of services less energy and services, we can see 0.4 coming from the 0.5, 0.4 coming from the 0.4. So again, for shelter, we are at the same rates. Transportations big down from the 1.5 to 0.9, and medical care services from 0.6 to 0.4. Overall, there are even more readings. This is 1.4 in the negative for used cars and trucks. And electricity, it's also in the negative. Utility pipe minus 2.9. And all despite the fact that energy is pushing 1.1. So overall, I think it's pretty decent news for the Fed. Also, CPI is coming back down a little bit. I think the Fed would think that it needs more progress. But we are step by step moving in the right direction. And retail sales, also consumer spending, it's also cooling down. So it's time for the labor market and housing sector to really cool down also. That's the next expectations towards the inflation. So what happened with the Nasdaq and with the markets? So as you can see, let's go to the 15-minute because we have a lot to cover on the technical side. Yesterday, we got a late spike to the upside coming from the intraday. We broke out, and during the overnight, I was really waiting for a pullback. I was basing my setup on this 15-minute and the 5-minute inside that fair value gap for the market to really push back and then try to find some kind of an entry in this area. We have the 50% retracement, we have the golden pocket, and in this area, I think it was pretty damn good to take longs for a supposedly good reading on the CPI, but we never got the pullback. And that's the first thing that you have to really adapt, to be flexible. Because once the market is so bullish that it doesn't want to pull back, we have to just wait for the readings and try to find a setup. That's what I did 2 times. One time I had to move my stop because I was not trusting the price action. So this is the push on the CPI. And we slowly were consolidating. And as always, for these big candles, I always recommend taking the deep retracement, gathering, looking for the 50% retracement. Also top tick. I didn't want to just blindly take this trade. So I waited for the first green candle and I took it with the stop at low of that candle and towards the liquidity for a push of the shorts. That never happened. We were consolidating, and at the open, I was just, okay, let's just be a little bit smart. And with this zone, which is resistance, let's take the 50% retracement and the middle of the area, basically. And once we reach this and we didn't continue higher, I move my stop to break even. And on the pullback at the open, I move my stop to this pivot. So we were actually trending lower. We were actually trying to find some buyers, but sellers were in control until we just moved to the golden pocket. Look at this beautiful setup. Beautiful push lower and then rejected. Found buyers, and then we went through the inverse fair value gap, and with a bullish fair value gap, I got the pullback. This is the pullback that I was expecting in this area from the CPI, but patience and discipline always pays. And we got, as always, the same setup. The high of the candle, the stop below the fair value gap candle, and then the target. It was supposed to be this one, but let me show you one trick that I think you would be pretty surprised, or maybe not. Because from yesterday, these kind of candles are pretty telling. So yesterday I tried to find the same kind of setup for a pullback, but in these kind of candles, you can do something else. You can do also a projection of the Fibonacci towards an expectations for that manipulation move. And that's what I did. If you take this candle at the Fib projection, this is the 1, 1.5, 2, and 2.5. Usually these two are when the market is so bullish that we just squeeze shorts higher. So these two zones were aligning with these white lines that are liquidity resting on the 1 hour chart. So let me show you. All these previous all-time highs were liquidity that I was watching today in case of the reading from the CPI was pretty decent. And when I saw the reading, I saw, okay, I think the market is going to try to squeeze this zone. So this -2 was actually my target for that. Let me show you. It's this liquidity. So basically, this was my target for a 3.53 risk-reward ratio, 20 points of risk, the same as this one that I got stopped out with 15 points. But this one, I got it, 67 points. And the Nasdaq just continued higher, higher, higher. And when we are so bullish that the 45 EMA is holding the price action, look at this. We are right here. This is all-time highs. The S&P is also there at basically, let me just show you, it's 0.06 from all-time highs. This is going to happen because the SPX, the S&P 500 cash ETF, index, it's already at all-time highs. So Nasdaq futures are going to push. I think that's what is going to happen sooner or later today, and if not tomorrow. That's why I always tell you in days like this, do not step in front of this train. Do not short this market, because this market is just going to push all the shorts until they just squeeze and push even higher. So trust me, don't try to short this market. Just join the long side into a pullback. And if you don't get a nice pullback, sometimes that happens. You have to exercise patience and wait for better opportunities. Today is just Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday. And we have also Friday. We have a setup for the week. So I think we have to there will be plenty of opportunities. If you miss today's price action because you didn't trust the reading on the CPI, I think there will be more. Because the dollar, it's also being annihilated. Actually, this was the reading on the CPI, and I was quite careful because look at this. It actually managed to squeeze higher on this zone. So that this was the reason why the Nasdaq pulled back so much after the open. But then look at this. Sellers took control and we just skyrocket on the equity indexes. The daily chart on the dollar looks quite weak. We are right there at the 200 daily moving average. The yields, the 2-year yield coming from 4.8, touching 4.7, finding some buyers, but pretty damn red day for both yields. The 2-year yield is actually below any kind of support. It's breaking down at 4.3, coming from 4.5. So pretty good news. Treasuries are pushing higher. High yield corporate bonds are in risk on mode. We are actually trying to push this gap from March. And small caps are also not as strong as the equities, but 1% for small caps, it's pretty decent. Financials are pretty damn good. So the economy, it's strong. Apple 1.40, Microsoft 1.60, Nvidia 3.54. So this is pushing the Nasdaq higher, and Amazon and Tesla are deep in the red because retail sales today were actually pretty damn bad. So despite that, Nasdaq it's at barely 0.04% of all-time highs. Do not short this market. Be patient, be disciplined, and wait for better opportunities throughout the week. The rest of the week, there will be more. And I think this market is just setting up the week because the daily looks pretty damn interesting. We are just pushing from the zone, the point of control. Remember when we were here chopping around? Look at this candle. I think pullback at this zone of volume is going to be met by bull demand, and we are going towards 18,900 or even 19,000. Who knows? But I think this market is just changed sentiment. It has all-time highs right at the corner. So trust me, be careful. Do not short this market and take those opportunities. The market is telling you we want to go higher. And that's all from my side. As always, thank you for your time. If you found this video useful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel because I upload videos like this one every single day for market forecasts, market updates, and market recaps. I appreciate your time as always. Remember that discipline and patience really pays off. Today is one big sample, and managing your risk, you will be successful in this trading. So stay safe, everyone, and see you tomorrow.